Well, in this moment of racial reckoning in our country, we've seen statues fall, schools, and even towns renamed in an effort to remove reminders of racism in America. But some communities are resistant, arguing the names are part of a history that shouldn't be erased. So how do we properly recognize our past while moving toward a more equitable future? Our Clayton Sandell on What's in a Name.
In the shadow of Denver's old airport tower, people living in the neighborhood known as Stapleton say this place, with its big parks and modern homes, had an outdated name.
Unfortunately, Stapleton was named after the airport, but the airport was named after Benjamin Stapleton, who was an active member of the Ku Klux Klan.
Kimberly Brewer helped lead the long fight to rename Stapleton. For decades, that rebranding was rejected by voters. But in June, Brewer says something finally changed.
I think we as a nation are beginning to grapple with the reality of our history and what is in a name.
Along with nationwide protests against police brutality, there's a new reckoning for names and symbols that conjure racism in America's past. Take Colorado. There is great natural beauty here, but the state still has a map dotted with what some say are ugly slurs: Negro Mesa, Redskin Mountain, Squaw Mountain. We decided to hit the road to find others. First stop, the small town of Buena Vista.
Okay, we just got to the trailhead here. It took us about 2 hours from Denver. It's pretty windy out here. This is a place where people bring their 4x4s, their off-road vehicles. It's a very popular place to go off-roading, but a lot of critics think it's got a troublesome name. This is Chinaman Gulch.
Long before it was an off-road playground, local historian Susie Kelly says Chinese laborers came here to work in the mines and for the railroads.
The Chinese man who lived up in that gulch, and they named it Chinaman Gulch because he lived there, but he lived there because he cut trees to make ties to lay the rails on.
Kelly works at the local Heritage Museum. She says most locals just don't see the need to change a name that's been around for 130 years.
It wasn't an insult. It wasn't done maliciously. I think they're making a big thing out of nothing, to tell you the truth.
If you were walking down the street with, say, a friend, and a friend said, "Hey, look at that Chinaman. There goes a Chinaman," would you consider that an insult today?
Probably. But in 1890, I probably wouldn't.
But today, Chinaman Gulch is on a list of controversial names being reviewed by the Department of the Interior. And Colorado's governor just created his own renaming commission. Historian Nikki Gonzalez is on it.
The people in power are the ones who give the names to different places, and that reflects the values of, these mythical ideas of American individualism, this rugged sort of approach to the West, this dominance, this superiority. The commission is tasked with examining some of the place names in Colorado that have been highly problematic, and for once we'll have these conversations at the highest level of government in Colorado.
Sky Roosevelt-MORRIS and Tink Tinker are with the activist group American Indian Movement. They are challenging white America to rethink the stories of people long celebrated here as pioneers and explorers.
We like to call them invaders, colonizers, because that's exactly what their mission was here, was to colonize and commit genocide against indigenous peoples.
One of those famous names, Kit Carson.
Carson was a premier Indian killer. Accounted for a number of massacres between Colorado and California.
This is where Carson's statue once stood in downtown Denver, but in June the city took it down before it could be torn down. Carson's name is on streets and schools, military bases, and our next stop, a town 150 miles southeast of Denver. At the local trading post, Kimberly Brown told us scrubbing his name would be a step too far.
My view on this thing is history is history. It's not there for us to like. It's not there for us to love. It's for us to learn from. And I feel erasing history, good or bad, it's not okay. I don't think it's okay.
Not far down the road is a place with another troubled namesake.
Out here on Colorado's eastern plains, Shivington is, well, more of a ghost town now. The man that it's named after is long gone too, but the pain and anger that he caused not far from here more than 150 years ago is still fresh.
In 1864, U.S. Army Colonel John Shivington led soldiers in a massacre at Sand Creek, slaughtering more than 200 Native Americans, most of them women and children. It is a wound Native Americans say has not healed, which is why they say a high school mascot you'll find just 40 miles to the south is a painful insult. This is Lamar, Colorado, home of the Savages.
We're not anybody's mascot. We are our own sovereign nations, our own peoples.
Locals tell us what they call Savage Nation has a long history in this community, meant to unite, not divide.
In our school, everybody knows, like, if we get called a savage, it's not offensive in any way. It's just, it's prideful.
We're all savages. We've been savages, and we love being savages.
ACACIA TRUITT graduated from Lamar High. She started a petition to keep the name.
What do you say to people, though, who say this is a racist, outdated symbol?
We're not using it as a derogative term. People, when they look from the outside in, they don't see that it's something that we take a lot of pride in, and that's why people are willing to fight for it. That sense of community that we're all together in one.
But not everyone. Nereda Aguirre graduated in 2012. She says she had no problem with the Savage mascot until she moved away to college.
And we're all having discussion, you know, freshman year, talking about where we come from. And I mentioned the name of my mascot. And a bunch of the kids kind of looked at me and they're like, "Are you serious? You're not joking." I'm like, "I'm serious. That's it." And they're like, "That's actually really offensive."
She's now back in Lamar, joining a group of alumni fighting to bury the Savage name.
We're in a moment in history and time where the choices we make are going to kind of influence the way we're seen later on by future generations. There's other good things about that school. So focus on those things, take pride in those. We'll change the mascot, and then we'll keep showing how good this community is.
Even if that change happens, some activists say the real issue goes far deeper.
Maybe if we are willing to address racist mascots and racist holidays and racist streets and racist statues, then maybe we can start to get to the heart of the issue, which is that this land is stolen, that this country is built on the genocide of indigenous peoples and the enslavement of black relatives. This is the beginning.
Back in Stapleton,
Denver has a new neighborhood, or at least a new name for one. Central Park will be the new name for Stapleton.
They're now covering up the old signs, making way for the new.
These names, I mean, they have the potential to evoke a very painful past, and that affects the self-esteem of young people. I think there's room enough for everybody's history.
A moment where real change may be just over the horizon.
This moment feels different, and I really do think something has shifted with the spark of George Floyd's murder. Maybe it's a point of no return.
Clayton Sandell, ABC News, Lamar, Colorado.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.